Welcome to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Brand new show this week. All kind of cool stuff going on in the market here in the Myrtle Beach area. Nationally, we'll talk about that. Lots of great stuff on today's topic we'll talk about. And the good news is the market has bounced back a little bit. And pretty quickly, we'll talk about that. That's in terms of new properties going under contract. Really, really good past 7 days, over $200+ million under contract. And so anytime we see that, it's great news. And that was really just a reflection of interest rates when they went back down last week and a little bit before that. And so we'll talk about what's going on there with everything real estate related here on the Grand Strand, really kind of give you an overall recap of the overall market numbers from last month. On last week's show, we talked about the micro market numbers. We dug in each and every zip code, but we'll talk about just what's the overall market doing in general here on the Grand Strand. With that, we had some big news of interest rates where they went back down, which is very, very good. We had some things back in the fives in terms of a 15-year fixed rate, jumbo loans. They have bumped back up in the sixes. We'll talk about that and kind of what's happening there with that. So great news, and the perfect timing in terms of that spring market. And we saw a huge jump in terms of new properties going to contract. My team, we put one of the biggest properties under contract in the entire Grand Strand last 7 days, $2.7 million multifamily property. Had a big cash buyer come in from up north in New York City. And so that's something that we're very proud of. We'll talk about that and what that means. One thing we'll share too, some behind the scenes stuff we haven't really shared in the show, and something that we call the T4 experience. That is how we've got 800+ 5-star reviews in terms of what we do and how we give a much better experience for people out there buying or selling than a lot of people do. And it comes down to systems and processes in terms of what we do, how that works. And I will break that down for everyone else. Also, as usual, our team has some amazing success stories. We've been absolutely crushing it. Our team's been doubling down, working hard, grinding really all day, every day, and getting results for our clients that are absolutely blowing ourselves out of the water. And we're not seeing that much of a slowdown at all like other agents are other places, because we're pushing that much more hard. And the last thing on the list we'll talk about today, the biggest reasons people are selling their house right now. And some of those surprise you. Talk about those at the end. A national survey came out and really talked about why most people are selling. One of the biggest reasons are 33% of people right now are just wanting to take advantage of the current market and make a big profit. We'll talk about that today. Dave, can you turn me up just a little bit? Turn it up just a little. Right.
You've heard the personal endorsements here backed by Sean Hannity, also Barbara Corcoran, Gary Labatz. Put them all together, it's just totally unprecedented. Now, that's one thing, but the other thing is that Blake has trademark systems for both home sellers and home buyers. They are trademarked, so we can't give you all the details, but more than happy every week to tell you the most important part of that system.
Yes, and like we talked about show after show after show, is that I made a big promise a long time ago to talk about this every week, because if it just changes, the trajectory of just one person out there, it helps them from making the biggest mistake I see happen over and over. And I'm talking horror story every week, over and over and over for the past, 20 years in doing this business. And the reality is they make this mistake of thinking that all real estate agents are the same, and it could not be any further from the truth, right? Just like any waiter or waitress, right? If you had a bunch of different waiters, some are really good, some aren't. And that's because you're in a service-based industry, just like real estate is. Same thing with a doctor, a lawyer. If you're charged with a crime you did not commit, the last thing you want some part-time attorney who's only tried a few cases, but they're really nice and your friend recommended you to them, right? You want the absolute best, most aggressive, the one with the most accolades, and who specializes in that type of law. And you should demand that same level of excellence when you're dealing with, for most people, their largest assets, which is real estate. But for some reason, right, people spend 20 and 30 years building their hard-earned equity, but they'll spend 5 or 10 minutes picking a real estate agent. And they do it based on the absolute wrong reasons. Who's the nicest, right? Who their friend recommended them to, who's the cheapest, right? If I get a doctor, I don't want the cheapest doctor. I want the best doctor. I don't want the cheapest lawyer. I want the best lawyer, right? And I want the best value in terms of that. It doesn't mean they're that much different, but I want the best, and I pick the right person based on the experience I want, the results I want. And so here's the deal. The single most important variable that determines your failure or success as a home seller comes down to one thing only. That thing is the agent that you choose, period. Right? Because it comes down to, when you're selling a property, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one's handled correctly, guess what it does? puts money in your pocket. If anything's handled incorrectly, AK, they drop the ball at any point. That costs you your hard-earned equity for the 20, 30 years you've been working on it, or in some case 5 or 10 years, whatever it is, because they mismanage those variables. And here's the thing. Most agents don't even know there's 118 different variables. They're just flying by their seat of their pants, just trying to get the next deal. How do I know that? Because I came up in the business. My entire family sold real estate, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma, other aunt and uncle. I was out putting signs at 2 and 3 years old, my family, and I just grew up in these offices and seen this happen over and over and over again. And that's why it comes down to the average agent in our marketplace sells 4 homes a year. That's 1 home per quarter. There's not really much money to even eat with, much less spending on your behalf in terms of marketing, or there's not really much knowledge in understanding what's happening in the nuances of the market if they're just selling 1 home a year. Sorry, 1 home a quarter. And so the reality is how the agent manages those variables matter. And so what we did, we sought out and say, look, how do we identify every single variable? That's when there's 118. And how do we create a system that's proven repeatable and creates maximum leverage for our client at every single point? And it's designed to do one thing only. And that thing is to give our client a competitive advantage in the marketplace when they're selling their house, or on the flip side, when they're buying a house, based on which side you're on. And so what I did was design this system called the Guaranteed Sold System, the only proven system that sells twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. It's backed up with 2 things. Number 1 is team. Number 2 is technology. And we'll talk about that in that T4 system we talk about in a few minutes. It's really kind of a summary of how that system works, because there's all these variables, all these things matter. But what we do is we stack those dominoes up, and we knock the right dominoes over in the right order. And what it does is it creates small gaps added up over time that creates a massive competitive advantage for our client. And so it's just like a marathon. We talk about this all the time, but let's say you have a marathon start, you have a shotgun that goes off, the noise, everybody starts running, everybody looks the same. But what happens is over time, they spread out tremendously, and some finish 2 and 3 hours ahead of other people. It's the same exact thing that we do with your marathon of your home sale, is we help you sprint through that and get your property sold fast. But we also create this auction type effect based on the marketing to get you top dollar for your home, because here's what we do. We seek out to find a buyer who pays a premium for that. How do we know that? Well, we reverse engineer the most likely buyer for that property based on their property type, their search criteria, all that stuff. And we match up buyers and sellers because that's what we're paid to do. We'll talk about how we use technology to do that. Now, here's the problem. It's impossible for one single agent to manage all those 118 different variables on one listing, much less 15, 20, 30 listings like some agents have, which is why you see most of the properties don't end up selling, or they end up selling at a massive discount because the agent has to get you to beat your price down for a buyer to even find it and be able to come and see it. And so here's the deal. Listen to the show, you owe it to yourself to at least investigate and find out what makes real estate agents different, right? What makes them different in how they operate? What's the difference in business models? What's the difference in different exposure and how these things work? And so it could come down to, does your agent you have actually answer the telephone when a buyer calls off the for sale sign? We just had an example last week where the agent couldn't afford a sale sign, didn't even get a for sale sign in the person's yard before we took over the listing. And so the reality is there's all these other nuances. They respond to web leads that come into the internet. If they do, how long does it take them to respond? Do they have professional photos? Are they using photos on their cell phone? What's the actual order of the photos? Does it bring in more buyers? Because here's the deal. Your first showing you have happens online, not when they walk in the door. And so today's technology advanced world, they're looking and viewing at your property and they're searching by elimination. And so if your property gets eliminated by crappy photos, they're never going to come walk their foot through that door, even though it might have been their dream house they were going to buy in the first place. And so that's just what I wanted to share every week, because I see horror story after horror story after horror story over and over and over. And I shared one even last week on last week's show with a person had already listed a house with $750,000 house with someone who had sold 0 listings this entire year. They had 3 of them, but guess what? All 3 failed to sell. And so they wonder why the results they had was, well, that's always boils down to the actual agent and how they execute. And so that's a system, the Guaranteed Sold System, designed to protect you and guide you through that process. So here's the deal. On the flip side, there's 100 plus variables for buyers out there. It's a very nuanced marketplace right now with a very low inventory. And so the agent you choose matters more than ever. And so what we did is design a system to give you a buyer a competitive advantage as well, right? It's called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. It gives you priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation and purchase price, as well as the home inspection to get you to that closing table successfully. And in both of those, our goal is one thing: to have you as a client for life, and we serve you even after the home sale. If you need plumbers, electricians, any type of deal, whatever it is, we help you get hooked up with the right vendor at the right discount to make sure we can get you what you need through that process. And so you owe it to yourself to at least understand that. That's my only goal of this radio show, is for people to understand that, look, the agent you choose matters, and you have to understand how to choose an agent, because most people are just flying by the seat of their pants, and it brings them a very, very, very bad result or a horror story. And the last thing you want for yourself is a horror story that's based on your largest asset. And so if you want to know really more how that works, you can always reach out to us. You can always go to blakesloan.com, but we'll talk about that here on the show. And I also want to give you kind of summary on the back end, how we broke that down into what we call our T4 system. So take a quick break. Be right back here in a second.
In the market to buy or sell a home right now, every detail means dollars, and who you hire to negotiate your home, that really matters. Hey, Sean Hannity here, and as an active investor who invests in real estate all across the great country of ours, I want the best negotiator representing my interests. I'm talking about Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. They can help you navigate through multiple cash offers, and more importantly, he has turned complicated situations into 5-star reviews. Now check out his rave reviews on Google. Talk to him yourself. If you are on trial with big money at stake, you would want a seasoned negotiator with thousands of victories. If they will take you on and you can afford them, right? Well, your home deserves the best representation. Know your options. See how much demand your home can command in this market right now, and get the best representation that you deserve. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corbin. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sellers, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers in a time crunch, you can agree to sell it by a certain date, take cash for your home, or even rent it.
That's great. And if the seller has a bit more time?
Use our proven marketing plan to sell it for the highest price.
Work with my friend Blake Sloan and get your home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Brand new market update. We'll talk about what's happening in the marketplace. Again, as usual, if you ever want to go back and watch these shows or kind of get this data or really help out and share it with somebody you know, that would be super helpful for us, and obviously help you come back to it. You can always go back and view this show. We stream it online on YouTube. We stream it on Facebook under Sloan Realty Group. Also, my personal page. You can go follow me on there. We also put this out in podcasts with your favorite podcast portal. But always go back, go to YouTube, share it with friends, relatives, whatever it is. Come back, review it. Our job is to do the same thing we do in 14 plus years in this show, is just give you the right information to make the best decisions with your largest assets. And so one thing we do every week is track the numbers, right? That's the most important thing. Everyone wants to know, like, what's my property worth? What's happening with my values? And so my job is to help give you the data and help you give you that data in real time. And so we have two types of data we look at. One's what we call the windshield data, which means here's what's happening out in front of us. Here's what's coming at us, right, in terms of new sales. And it's really what went under contract the last 7 days. It's something we started during COVID and the lockdown. And it's really been very powerful to understand of, like, all right, here's what's going to happen in the next 30 to 60 days based on what I'm seeing in the last 7. And so it allows us to have a real-time pulse on the market, while the majority of agents and people are using data that's 60 days old, right? And so what we do is track how many properties went under contract the last 7 days, and we look at all those across the entire MLS. And so in the last 7 days, great news, there are 610 properties under contract versus last week's show, only 546. So significant difference. Well, why is that? Well, rates dropped down to 6.4%. And so that's just what we showed. Extra buyers jump off the fence. A lot of this right now is very interest rate sensitive. And so they're jumping off the fence and buying stuff as rates come down. And you just see more buyers move when it's more affordable and rates are back down. Here's the volume, though. Very, very good. $219 million in $97, which is awesome. Last week's show, $188 million. So significant difference there overall, almost a $30 million difference, which is great, great news overall in terms of that. So awesome, awesome stuff there. Anytime we're at or above $200 million in a 7-day period is amazing. That's a very, very good market. And we're seeing these summer type numbers earlier this year, right? In the spring market we're in right now, because there's been so much pent up demand, especially through November, December, rates are very high. People were on the sidelines, people were delaying, and we've seen rates go back up and down both in January, February, and early March. And so great news overall. We're also seeing a lot of high-end properties right now move, and that's awesome news. In the last 7 days, 15 properties over $1 million went under contract. We just sold one for $2.7 million, a multifamily property with a big cash buyer coming in from New York City. We have a very good connection in New York with a lot of out-of-town buyers, a lot of big money we're seeing move down here. This is a multifamily property. I think it was 8 separate townhomes in one. And so very proud of our team and Ryan, our team for doing that. But the reality is we have a huge market reach that we're able to be dialed into, especially that connection we have through Barbara Corcoran, who's based in Manhattan in New York City. We're on our website, and she sends a lot of business down our way as well. Other thing, 84 properties over 500,000, which is awesome. So if you compare it to last week, so this week, 15 properties over $1 million. Last week, 17 properties over $1 million. This week, 84 properties over 500,000 went under contract. And last week, 79 properties over 500,000. So you're seeing a lot of movement here, which is great news. And active properties right now for single family resale homes, that's the best way to keep pulse on it. 819 properties are active, is down from last week when it was 826. And so we're seeing that fluctuate around 820 the last 7 days. And so, like I mentioned, my team and I, we watch this every morning in our huddle. We go over it, we share it with clients, and it helps us have a better understanding in real time what's happening. Now, if you go back and look at last month's numbers, right? We'll have the brand new numbers out really well next week's show. They're not quite out yet, but looking at last month's numbers, which is February, February sales were down 33.6% from the same month last year. Overall sales price, median sale price is 0.4% overall in terms of what's happening versus the same month last year. And so if you look at month versus month, though, it was up, which is cool. So in January, 350, February, 355. It is down, though, from the peak of last year at 380,000. And that's something that's very good there overall. Looking at the overall average sale price, price is up 5.3% year over year, even though sales are down. That's because inventory is very low, and we're still in a super seller's market. Average sale price was down a little bit month versus month. So in January, 446, 297, down to 431, 765. Looking overall into the overall peak of last year, it peaked out in April last year at 488, 186. And so big difference there. You're seeing it come down. We have seen a lot of higher end properties start to climb down a little bit just because as interest rates have gone up, right, you're focusing a lot more on cash buyers. And so it is very nuanced, though, based on property type, based on area. And so we can easily get the information for you based on if you want an instant home evaluation, you want to know what your property's worth, or we have a free service. We can keep you updated monthly on what your property's worth with a lot more accurate data than you see on the sites like Zillow and things like that. Because it's a little more human involvement. We have some AI that we also use with that. You can go to blakesloan.com to get on that, or reach out to my office and we'll send you comps. No hassle, none of that stuff. We won't hassle at all. We just send it out to you, and if you have questions, write back to us. And we know that if we do that, it comes back to us in the long run because our job here is to serve that community. And so that's very powerful as well. One thing we talk about is supply. Supply is down significantly from where it was, a couple years ago. If you go back to right now we're at 2.5%, which is up from last year. All right, so 2.5 months, which is up 150% from last year. I was trying to find the last time we were at 2.5 months was November 2020. Then we obviously went through that entire COVID process, very low interest rates. It went all the way down to 0.9 months between January and February 2022. Now it's climbed back up. It was at 2.6 months in November, December, very slow. And then back in right now, 2.5 months where it's holding tight really the past few months. There's a lot of national articles right now just talking about home sellers aren't selling because a lot of them are locked in with interest rates at 2% and 3%. And so it creates this shortage, which is thankfully protecting prices as we go through this. And we'll keep watching that overall. What's going on? Condo market, very similar in terms of that. Condo market sales down 35% year over year. It did jump up significantly from January to February. So in January, 321 condo sales. February, though, 369 condo sales, which is awesome. Sales price up 6.7% year over year for average price. Median price up 6.3% year over year. And inventory is up 283%, but that number is very skewed. It's only 2.3 months of inventory. And so very low inventory for both houses and condos right now. So what that means is If I'm a home seller, condo seller, investment property, commercial, whatever it is, understand supply and demand, atmosphere here, and that we always know price is a lag indicator. And so I want to make sure I time this with a seasonal market. We're very seasonal here in Myrtle Beach. Spring and summer are by far the absolute best times to sell your property because everyone's coming in town. They've been sitting back on the sidelines through November, December, early January, and sometimes February. They're coming in buying. We're having a lot of people right now who are coming in town who are combining their vacation with their purchase, and they're coming in town just to buy something. Our team's round the clock every day, 7 days a week, dealing with this. And so if you're thinking about selling, take some action earlier than later, especially earlier than usual, because you want to time that right with the seasonality. And everyone is expecting rates to continue to climb back up. They did climb back up this past week. Last week's show, they were 6.44%. Right now, today, 30-year fixed mortgage, 6.60%, up a little bit. We're still below 7, which is good. A 15-year fixed, 6.00%. A 30-year jumbo loan, 5.95%, which is really good right now. A 5-year adjust rate mortgage, 6.6%. 30-year FHA, 6.05%. And a 30-year VA, 6.12%. So still very, very healthy. I'm very thankful right now, just from a business owner standpoint, that we're seeing rates come back down a little bit and stay below 7 during the spring market, because disaster would be having very high interest rates during the spring market, because that's when everyone wants to make that move. And so if you're thinking about selling, reach out to us now, 843-808-SOLD, blakesloan.com, or anybody you have thinking about selling, tell them, hey, look, time is of the essence. This time, interest rates are a big factor, and you want to get in while buyers are still moving right now, and have them reach out to us, 843-808-SOLD, or blakesloan.com. Quick break, right back in a second.
WRNN listeners, Clay Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible for a home.
Totally true, Clay. And here in Myrtle
How
Beach,
about
that
those
agent
6.5
is our friend
minutes?
Blake
Okay,
Sloan of
perfect.
Sloan
Thank you.
Realty Group.
Okay.
If you need to sell a home and buy a new one, ask Blake about his guarantee.
Get this, Blake guarantees to sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, or he'll buy it himself. And since you know when your current home will sell by and for how much, you can buy your next home without worrying about getting stuck with 2 mortgages.
There's simply no other agent in the market who has a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 5-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing. That's Sloan Realty Group.
And tune in to Blake's shows Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:30 a.m.
Welcome back to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Hot buyers alert. My team and I are working with a ridiculous amount of home buyers looking for homes in the Myrtle Beach, Grand Strand area, from $250,000 to $4.43 million. If you're thinking about selling, please contact us immediately. That's 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD. Here's the deal. One thing we've been doing every single week for years and years and years now is putting our money where our mouth is, and actually sharing real time how many active buyers we have who are looking at our site. Because one thing makes us different is our business model gives us a huge advantage, and we outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. It's something we sit down and show our clients or potential clients, and it absolutely blows their mind, because the economics of the business model are much different, and it allows us to create a much bigger funnel that drives more buyers in. Because here's the deal: best case scenario, we match up buyer and seller that we have. That's what we're hired to do, right? We have technology that does that, takes all these buyers and reverse engineers the most likely buyer for your property based on our previous search patterns. So what makes this different is the average agent, right, is out there doing 1 or 2 deals here and there. They're by themselves. There's no real systems, no real processes. And so they start marketing once they put the sign in the yard, then they start doing something. With us, I'm spending tens and tens of thousands of dollars a month, every month, for years and years and years now, generating buyers from around the globe. And so we have these buyers in waiting that we're able to put on your property immediately and use our technology and our sales team to do so. And that's what makes the big difference. So right now, active home buyers with a username, password account, searching our site, 71,627 active home buyers. Again, 71,627 active home buyers. Massive amounts of home buyers that we have right now from all over. Right now, I got Bretland Mello from Elk Grove, California. I got Richard from Genoa City, Wisconsin. I got Betsy from Washington, D.C. I got Olga from Myrtle Beach. I got Kent from Long, South Carolina. Let's see what else we got. I got Cliff from Atlanta, Georgia. I got Jen from Brantford, Ontario. I got Tina Jones from La Plata, Maryland, Kingsburg, New Jersey. I got Reading, PA, Mount Holly, North Carolina, Greenville, North Carolina, Poco, West Virginia. And so we have these people from all over who are searching, and these are real time actually searching. So I share this because if you're thinking about selling, or anyone you come across, friend, relative, aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma, whatever it is, and they mention or smell like they're selling their home, I need you to do me a favor and say, look, you got to call my buddy Blake. Call Blake at 843-808-SOLD. And so we're here with buyers and waiting. And the reality is inventory is still very, very low. We need inventory. And so we're selling our properties very quickly, creating that auction type effect where we're getting multiple buyers come in and look at it. And it helps our clients sell property for more money overall, which is very, very important. So really quick, couple quick success stories. Our team's absolutely crushing it. James and Cindy owned a home in Aner, recently made a decision to move outside their HOA with less property restrictions. They were very frustrated with that. They have found the perfect piece of land that was already picked out before they called us, but they need to sell their home quickly and also for top dollar to make sure they can purchase their land and new property. James and Cindy actually explored their options, but with a couple investors as well as other real estate agents were not impressed at all. Thankfully, they referred to Blake Sloan, the Sloan Realty Group, by an amazing radio listener. The choice was obvious that we were the fit for them. We came in, designed a custom plan, launched a gold marketing blitz, professional photos, the virtual reality walkthrough. Within a couple weeks, drove massive traffic, got James and Cindy an amazing offer in their home. Now they're able to move forward in confidence and close simultaneously on the land and the build package they have. And also, Ron and Linda own a home in Longs. Recently found out their daughter is going to be having her first child. They wanted to move back home up north so they could be close to their grandchild. Ron and Linda's biggest concern, though, was having a bunch of random people walk through their home and not knowing if they were serious about purchasing a home or if they were qualified. Ron and Linda met with us. We showed them exactly how we have a tremendous amount of qualified buyers, and we literally showed them the actual buyers who are looking for homes just like theirs. We came in, designed a custom plan, launched our gold marketing blitz, professional photos, a virtual reality walkthrough. Within a couple weeks, had massive traffic, qualified buyers, got them an amazing offer on their home. Now they're able to move back up north with maximum equity in their pocket. They had a 5-star experience without any hassle. And so if you want to be one of those people, reach out to us. Do not be part of our horror story. We'll talk about next week that T4 experience that we have, and it breaks it down really into 4 main pieces: team, technology, tenacity, and truth. And so one thing we do, our team model, we can outspend the average agent 101 from ad spend. We have leverage. Just last week, our team made 16,000 phone calls. That's 16,000 phone calls to our buyers that we have in our database on that system to match them up with buyers and sellers. And that's something some single agent can't do. And so we have specialists versus generalists, team of specialists to communicate with you through the process, true experts who sell 5 times the average of the agents in our MLS. And so if you want that experience, we have 800 5-star reviews. Reach out, call us 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com anytime.